Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into BHP Group and figuring out, is this stock a good fit for your portfolio? We're going to be looking at their financials, their recent performance, some innovative ventures they got going on, and their commitment to ESG principles to help you make an informed decision.
Yeah, BHP Group, formerly known as BHP Billiton, is an Anglo-Australian multinational company, and they deal in mining, metals, and petroleum.
Oh, wow.
And their transition from BHP Billiton to just BHP involved streamlining operations and really focusing on key resources.
Okay.
It's a strategic shift that reflects BHP's ability to kind of adapt to the changing demands of the global market.
Right, yeah.
It's a pretty dynamic industry.
Oh, for sure. And right now, their market cap is sitting at about $123 billion USD,
That's right.
which is actually down 28% over the past year. But looking at data from companies' market cap, it shows that their market cap has gone up and down quite a bit over the last couple of decades.
Yeah, it has.
In 2009, for instance, their market cap more than doubled, reaching over $300 billion.
Yeah.
And then it dropped back down the following year to around $255 billion.
Yeah, and this volatility just goes to show how cyclical the mining industry is. BHP's performance is often a reflection of global economic conditions and commodity price cycles.
Makes sense.
But despite that recent dip, BHP is showing some promising signs of potential value.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Zacks, a pretty well-known investment research firm, they gave BHP a sell rating. But they also gave them a strong buy or buy recommendation based on their VGM score, which is a B, and value and growth scores of A.
So a sell rating and a strong buy recommendation. That seems a little contradictory.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It really highlights the importance of understanding all the nuances of financial analysis.
Okay.
So Zacks' sell rating focuses on short-term market fluctuations, right?
Okay.
But their style scores grade stocks based on value, growth, and momentum, and they provide a broader perspective. And BHP's A scores in value and growth suggest that the market might be undervaluing their long-term potential.
Gotcha. So their short-term outlook isn't great, but they have good long-term potential.
Exactly. And this undervaluation stems from a few things, like their strong asset base, their diverse portfolio of resources, and their investments in future-facing technologies.
So it sounds like they're playing the long game.
Definitely, and that's contributing to their high value and growth scores, despite the fact that Zacks has this bearish short-term outlook. So investors looking for long-term growth opportunities might find this discrepancy kind of intriguing.
I see.
Yeah, it's definitely something to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's talk about BHP's innovation pipeline, specifically their venture capital arm, BHP Ventures, which is really investing a lot in sustainability-focused companies.
For sure, this isn't just about the traditional resource extraction anymore. It's about being smarter, more sustainable, and positioning themselves for a future where responsible resource management is going to be even more important.
Yeah, it seems like they're really trying to get ahead of the curve.
Definitely, BHP Ventures is a fascinating part of their strategy.
Yeah, well, let's talk about some of the companies that they're investing in.
Okay, yeah.
One that stands out is Zwitterco. They're developing anti-fouling membranes for wastewater treatment in mining operations, which really aligns with their commitment to water stewardship.
Right.
Then there's Cobalt Metals. They're using AI and data science to enhance ore discovery.
Interesting.
And that could lead to, increased efficiency in resource discovery.
Absolutely. And they're also backing Verdagi.
Oh, yeah, Verdagi.
Yeah.
They're focused on large-scale green hydrogen production, which is, going to be key in the clean energy transition.
Right. And let's not forget about Carbon Engineering, a company developing direct air capture technology.
Yeah, which could play a significant role in, the fight against climate change.
Yeah, and these investments and all these innovative technologies, coupled with BHP's commitment to ESG principles, really demonstrate their forward-thinking approach.
Yeah, I think it's clear that they're not just sitting back and waiting for the future to happen. They're actively shaping a more sustainable future.
Exactly, for their operations and for the planet.
Yeah, and they're also attracting investors who prioritize responsible business practices and long-term growth potential in a changing world.
Exactly. It's really a win-win situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to BHP's valuation and compare them to some of their competitors.
Okay.
Their market cap is significantly lower than some competitors like Vale and Rio Tinto. But, each company has its own unique story and growth trajectory.
Right.
However, BHP's relatively low valuation, especially when you consider their high value and growth scores from Zacks,
Right.
It suggests that there might be a buying opportunity there for investors.
Yeah, it's really crucial to analyze BHP's valuation in context.
Yeah.
If you compare their market cap to industry giants like Chevron and ExxonMobil,
In the energy sector.
yeah, you see a big difference, highlighting the varying scales of operation within the resource extraction industry.
Yeah, definitely.
But when you compare them to direct competitors like Vale and Rio Tinto, BHP's lower valuation and their strong financial performance and these innovative ventures they're involved in, it presents a compelling case to look into them further.
Okay, so their valuation might be lower than some of the big players, but they're still holding their own against their direct competitors.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, and then there's BHP's recent acquisition of OZ Minerals.
Right.
That was a big move in the copper market.
It was a major move.
Yeah, and it could have big implications for their future growth, especially considering the increasing demand for copper and electric vehicles and renewable energy technologies.
Absolutely. The acquisition of Ozone Minerals strengthens BHP's position in a metal that is absolutely crucial for the world's transition to cleaner energy solutions.
And it aligns with their commitment to being a part of and profiting from the global shift towards sustainability.
Exactly. It's a smart move. But to really understand the risks and potential rewards of this deal, we'd need to take a deeper dive into OZ Minerals' assets, their integration into BHP's operations, and the long-term outlook for the copper market.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that this acquisition adds another layer of complexity to BHP's story, but it also underscores their proactive approach to capitalizing on emerging trends and positioning themselves for long-term growth in a rapidly evolving landscape.
Yeah, they're definitely not afraid to make bold moves.
All right, well, we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that acquisition, but for now, let's shift our focus to BHP's commitment to ESG principles, particularly in sustainable mining practices and managing climate change risks.
Right, and their focus extends beyond just compliance. They're integrating sustainability into their core business strategy.
Yeah, and that's really evident in their investments in water stewardship, responsible product stewardship, and their efforts to mitigate those operational, physical, climate-related risks. I think that demonstrates a real commitment to minimizing their environmental impact and ensuring the long-term resilience of their operations.
Yeah, and it's likely to resonate with investors who are looking for companies that prioritize ethical and sustainable practices.
Definitely. But it's important to acknowledge that the mining industry, no matter how you look at it, does have an environmental impact.
Right.
And while BHP is trying to minimize this impact through technological innovation and responsible practices, investors need to carefully consider their own values and investment philosophy when evaluating BHP's ESG performance.
That's a good point. Investors need to do their own research and make sure their investments align with their values.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about the economic impact of BHP. They're a global company with a pretty significant footprint.
Yeah, they employ thousands of people worldwide, and they contribute a lot to the economies of the countries where they operate.
Yeah, they create jobs, generate revenue, and stimulate local economies through investments in infrastructure and community development.
That's right. And that economic contribution is definitely a positive aspect of their operations.
Right, but we also need to consider the potential downsides.
Yeah, things like the risk of resource depletion, environmental damage, and the impact on local communities.
But BHP's commitment to responsible mining practices aims to mitigate those risks and make sure their operations are beneficial to both the company and the communities they work with.
Absolutely. It's about finding a balance between economic growth and sustainability.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on to something that's probably top of mind for a lot of potential investors.
Okay.
BHP's dividend policy and share buyback program.
Their consistent dividend payout based on a minimum payout ratio makes them attractive to investors who are looking for steady income.
Right, and that policy, coupled with their active share buyback program, really demonstrates their commitment to returning value to shareholders.
And share buybacks, which is where a company repurchases its own shares from the market.
Right.
It can be a good sign.
Yeah, it can signal confidence in their future performance and potentially increase earnings per share, making the stock even more appealing to investors.
Right, and while past performance doesn't guarantee future returns, BHP's history of paying dividends and engaging in share buybacks provides some insight into their shareholder-friendly approach.
Okay, so they have a good track record of taking care of their shareholders.
Definitely, and that's something that potential investors should keep in mind.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so to sum up, BHP Group presents a pretty complex investment opportunity.
It does.
They have a long history, a global presence, and they're really focused on future-facing innovations and sustainability.
Right, and their commitment to ESG principles is attracting those investors who are seeking ethical and responsible investments.
Exactly. But there are potential downsides to consider as well, like the inherent cyclicality of the mining industry, the potential environmental impacts despite their efforts towards sustainability, and the risks associated with their recent acquisition of OZ Minerals.
That's right. It's important to weigh the pros and cons.
Absolutely. And also consider your own risk tolerance, investment goals, and how BHP aligns with your overall portfolio strategy before making any decisions.
It's all about making informed decisions
Exactly.
and doing your due diligence.
Absolutely. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive into BHP Group, but there's still plenty more to discuss.
Yeah, we're just getting started.
We'll be back in the next part to delve deeper into their financial performance,
Right.
their innovation pipeline,
Absolutely.
and their overall prospects for long-term growth.
And we'll also be talking about their recent acquisition of OZ Minerals and what that means for the company moving forward.
Okay, so stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive into BHP Group.
We'll see you there. BHP's commitment to ESG, particularly in sustainable mining and managing climate change risks.
Right.
It's another factor that could influence their potential for growth in the long term.
Yeah, and their focus goes beyond just compliance.
Oh, absolutely.
It's about making sustainability a core part of their business strategy.
Yeah, exactly.
Their investments in water stewardship, responsible product stewardship, and their work to mitigate those operational, physical, climate-related risks really shows a genuine commitment to minimizing their environmental impact
Right.
and ensuring the long-term resilience of their operations.
Uh,
And this kind of proactive approach is likely to attract investors who are looking for companies that prioritize ethical and sustainable practices.
yeah, no doubt about it. But it's important to remember that the mining industry, by its very nature, has an impact on the environment.
Right.
And while BHP is really striving to minimize that impact through new technology and responsible practices, investors need to think carefully about their own values and investment philosophy when they're looking at BHP's ESG performance.
Absolutely. Investors need to do their own research and make sure their investments align with their values.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so now let's shift gears a bit and talk about the economic impact of BHP.
Okay.
They're a global company with a pretty big footprint.
Right. They employ thousands of people all over the world and contribute a lot to the economies of the countries they operate in.
They create jobs, generate revenue, stimulate local economies through investments in infrastructure and community development.
Yeah, all of that's true. And that economic contribution is definitely a positive aspect of their operations.
Right. But we also need to consider the potential downsides.
Of course, like the risk of resource depletion, environmental damage, and the impact on local communities.
But BHP's commitment to responsible mining practices is meant to reduce those risks and make sure their operations benefit both the company and those communities.
Absolutely. It's about finding that balance between economic growth and sustainability.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's move on to something that's probably on the minds of a lot of potential investors.
Okay.
BHP's dividend policy and their share buyback program.
Right. Their dividend payout is consistent.
Yeah.
It's based on a minimum payout ratio, and that makes them attractive to investors who are looking for a steady income.
Exactly. And that policy, together with their active share buyback program, shows their commitment to returning value to shareholders.
Yeah, and those share buybacks where a company buys back its own shares from the market,
Right.
it can be a really positive sign.
It can signal confidence in their future performance and could increase earnings per share, which makes the stock more attractive to investors.
Exactly. And while past performance is never a guarantee of future returns, BHP's history of paying dividends and doing share buybacks gives us some insight into their shareholder-friendly approach.
Yeah, so they have a good track record of taking care of their shareholders.
Yeah, I'd say so.
All right, so to sum up, BHP Group is a complex investment opportunity.
It is.
They have a long history, a global presence, and they're focused on innovations in sustainability.
Yeah, and their commitment to ESG is attracting investors who are looking for ethical and responsible investments.
Right, but there are potential downsides too, like the fact that the mining industry is cyclical, and there are possible environmental impacts despite their efforts, and of course, the risks that come with their recent acquisition of OZ Minerals.
Yeah, all important factors to consider.
Absolutely. Investors need to weigh the pros and cons, think about their risk tolerance, their investment goals, and how BHP fits into their overall portfolio strategy.
Yeah, it's all about making informed decisions and doing your research.
Exactly. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but there's still more to talk about.
Yeah, we're not done yet.
We'll be back in the next part to really dig into their financial performance, their innovation pipeline, and their overall chances for growth in the long term.
Right. We'll break it all down.
So stay tuned for part 3 of our deep dive into BHP Group.
We'll see you there.
All right, so let's circle back to BHP's financials and just, highlight a few key points for potential investors.
Okay. Sounds good.
While their market cap has, fluctuated over the last 2 decades,
Yeah.
their recent performance has actually shown a decline.
Right. With their market cap sitting at about $123 billion USD, which is down 28% over the past year.
It might seem concerning, but you got to consider the bigger picture.
Okay.
When you analyze the data from companies' market cap, it shows a history of ups and downs.
Yeah.
Periods of significant gains and drops.
Well, like we talked about earlier.
Exactly, like back in 2009.
Right.
Their market cap more than doubled, hitting over $300 billion.
Yeah.
Then the next year dropped to around $255 billion.
Right.
That kind of volatility is pretty common in the mining industry.
Makes sense.
It's influenced by global economic conditions and those commodity price cycles.
For sure. And we also have to consider BHP's recent acquisition of OZ Minerals.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. Which, could significantly impact their future performance.
For sure.
This acquisition really expands their exposure to copper.
Right.
Positioning them strategically in those, electric vehicle and renewable energy sectors.
Which rely heavily on copper.
Exactly.
It's a smart move.
Yeah, but acquisitions come with their own set of risks.
Of course.
Investors should keep a close eye on how BHP integrates OZ Minerals' assets.
Right?
And, manages the challenges that come with that kind of expansion.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Absolutely.
Okay, so when you're thinking about BHP as an investment,
Yeah.
it's important to consider your own risk tolerance, your investment goals. And you know how BHP aligns with your overall portfolio strategy.
If you're looking for a company with a long history, a global presence, and a strong focus on those future-facing innovations.
Particularly in sustainability.
Exactly. BHP might be worth a closer look.
Yeah.
Their commitment to ESG and their strategic moves like the OZ Minerals acquisition show they're willing to adapt and grow in a changing world.
For sure. But it's crucial to remember that investing in a company like BHP, operating in a cyclical industry like mining, comes with inherent risks.
Right. Things like global commodity prices, economic downturns, geopolitical events.
All of those can impact their performance.
Exactly. So before you jump in and make any decisions, do your due diligence, research BHP's financials, understand their dividend policy, and really think about the potential impact of share buybacks on the stock price.
Yeah, past performance is not a crystal ball.
Nope.
Every investment comes with risks.
All right, well, that wraps up our deep dive into BHP Group.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground.
We did.
From their financials and innovative ventures to their commitment to ESG and the potential risks and rewards of investing in this global mining giant.
Hopefully this deep dive gave you a better understanding of BHP and helps you decide if it's the right fit for your portfolio.
Yeah, if you have any questions or thoughts about BHP, let us know in the comments section of our YouTube channel.
Yeah, we love hearing from you.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the companies and topics shaping the world of finance.